All right, welcome to today's explainer. We're going to jump right in because we're taking a deep dive into something that's actually pretty fascinating and honestly essential. We're looking at the IT Hygiene Guide from the French National Cybersecurity Agency, ANSSI. We're going to explore exactly how organizations and everyday users like you and me can build a completely impenetrable digital fortress. So the magic number today is 42. Yep, the ANSSI Guide lays out exactly 42 concrete measures to secure your information systems. Now I know, 42 rules might sound a little intimidating right out of the gate, but I promise as we go through this explainer, you'll see they actually form a really cohesive, totally logical, and definitely non-panic-inducing blueprint for your digital security. Here's our architectural blueprint for today. We're breaking these measures down into 5 key areas: IT hygiene for all, the keys to the kingdom, shielding devices and networks, securing nomadic work, and finally, monitoring, maintenance, and reaction. Okay, let's start with Section 1, IT hygiene for all. Because the absolute foundational principle here is that cybersecurity is a collective responsibility. Now, look, the guide totally gets that we're not all tech wizards, right? It clearly splits up this responsibility. For everyday users, it's really just about basic but super crucial daily vigilance. We're talking simple habits like instantly locking your screen the second you step away, or, not plugging your personal phone into the corporate network. But for the operational teams and network admins, well, they need highly technical training on things like network segmentation and strong authentication. So everybody has their own specific part to play. Moving deeper into our fortress, we hit Section 2, Keys to the Kingdom. This is all about managing access and privileges. Think about it, relying on just a single password nowadays? It's literally like putting an old, easily copied padlock on your front door and calling it a day. It's just not going to cut it. The guide heavily emphasizes that secure access requires multi-factor authentication, or MFA. That means you combine your password with something else, like a code sent via SMS, a physical smart card, or even biometrics like your fingerprint. Think of MFA as adding a heavy-duty deadbolt and like a personal bodyguard to your front door. And then there are the admin accounts, the real keys to the vault. These have to be managed ruthlessly. You've got to inventory and audit these accounts on a regular basis. If an employee leaves, boom, access revoked immediately, so that old key can never be used again. Also, you absolutely must change default equipment passwords the exact second they're installed, because trust me, hackers test default passwords first thing. And finally, apply the principle of least privilege. That just means giving people the exact access they need to do their jobs and absolutely nothing more. So, with the gates fully locked down, let's look at Section 3, Shielding Devices and Networks. This is where we protect the core infrastructure. You literally cannot protect what you don't know you have. So, the very first step here is network mapping. You have to create a highly detailed map of your servers, your workstations, all your connections. Think of it as a digital treasure map that visualizes your critical data flows. This lets you clearly spot your digital crown jewels, so you can prioritize protecting them first. Okay, so once you know where those jewels are, how do you guard them? You segment your network using VLANs, or virtual local area networks. By carving out these virtual zones, you isolate the sensitive areas. It's basically like building internal castle walls. That way, if a hacker manages to breach one tiny part of the network, they're stuck. They can't easily move laterally and take down the whole kingdom. And to keep all this organized, you use something like an Active Directory. This acts as your centralized control tower. It lets you apply your security rules uniformly across every single user, computer, and network resource. Imagine trying to manually lock 1,000 doors one by one. Nightmare, right? This simplifies everything and guarantees your security is perfectly coherent across the board. The guide also hands us a really solid checklist for your digital shields. First, every workstation needs a local firewall and antivirus software, period. Hard drives, they need to be encrypted, basically slapping a digital padlock right on your data. Your Wi-Fi connections have to use strong WPA and AES encryption. For your IT admins, you need to set up dedicated isolated networks, literal digital bunkers just for their system admin tasks. And finally, secure access gateways. These are your proxies and firewalls acting as mandatory guard posts that filter all the internet traffic entering or leaving your network. But hey, what happens when your workforce actually leaves the safety of those castle walls? That brings us to Section 4, Securing Nomadic Work. Working from a cafe or an airport is great, but the risks are massive. For nomadic workers, the guide prescribes what I like to call the secret agent protocol. Step 1, extreme physical vigilance. Never ever leave your devices unattended and slap a privacy filter on your screen to block the shoulder servers. Step 2, mandatory VPN activation. A virtual private network creates this secure encrypted tunnel right back to your corporate network, making your data totally unreadable to anyone snooping on the public Wi-Fi. And step 3, full device encryption. That guarantees that if your laptop has ever lost or stolen, the data is completely useless without the decryption key. And that brings us to our final stop, Section 5, monitoring, maintenance, and reaction, because even the best fortress falls apart if you don't maintain it and put guards in the watchtowers. So let's talk about maintenance. You've got a 30-day window. The ANSSI Guide absolutely insists on applying software security patches within 30 days of their release. When a vendor finds a vulnerability, that is a literal crack in your castle wall. You patch it fast. On the flip side, relying on obsolete hardware and software is so dangerous. Going up against modern cyber threats with outdated tech, it's basically like a knight riding into battle wearing rusty armor. But you also need eyes on the perimeter, right? Continuous surveillance. You have to activate logging on all your critical components. These logs are your digital surveillance cameras. They never sleep and they record every single login and file access. Next, you need independent security audits at least once a year to really pressure test your defenses. And honestly, this might be the biggest one. Maintain a rigorous policy of secure, offline backups. Keep them safe from ransomware, and please actually test restoring those backups to make sure they actually work when you need them. Okay, worst case scenario. The walls are breached. The very first rule of the Guide's incident response protocol is take a breath, do not panic. Just follow these 4 steps. 1. Identify. Become a detective and gather clues from your system logs. 2. Contain. Quickly isolate any infected systems to stop the bleeding. 3. Restore. Bring your systems back online using those clean, tested backups we just talked about. And 4. Learn. Always do a debrief to figure out what went wrong so you can turn that incident into an upgrade for your future security. At the end of the day, this whole ANSSI Guide, as powerful and technical as it is, boils down to one simple, unifying philosophy. Cybersecurity is the business of all. Every single person has a role to play in protecting the organization. Those 42 measures, they really only work when everyone on the team knows they are a critical part of the defense. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about your own setup. Take these concepts back to your daily workflows and your IT teams. Ask yourself, is your digital fortress built on a resilient, fully updated blueprint, or are you accidentally leaving the front gates wide open? Thanks for hanging out with me for this deep dive.